says this beautiful prayer in chapter 17. It's known as the high priestly prayer. So once again, for those of you who would like to follow along, we're in John chapter 17, verses 20 through 26. Hear the word of the Lord. I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one even as we are one, I in them and you in me, that they may become perfectly one, so that the world may know that you sent me and loved them even as you loved me. Father, I also desire that they also, whom you have given me, may be with me where I am, to see my glory that you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, even though the world does not know you, I know you, and these know that you have sent me. I made known to them your name, and I will continue to make it known, in order that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So a couple months ago, I was having a conversation with a member of this church, and I won't say his name because I didn't actually ask if I could tell this story, sorry. But he shared something along these lines. He said, honestly, in this cultural moment, I feel like I share more with those who align with me politically than I share with most of the Christians who don't. I feel like I share more in common with the non-Christians who align with me politically than I share with many of the Christians who don't. And as he said this, we sat there and let that sink in for a moment, feeling the weight of that statement, because it speaks to a deep tension that I feel deeply in my soul. On the one hand, I feel, based on this text today, among others, that my faith should be the thing that unites me most strongly to the people who share it. It should be the most powerful uniting influence in my life. And yet it's the same Christian faith that I feel compels me to speak out about some of the injustices that are going on in our nation right now, which are part of an agenda which statistically are supported by most white evangelicals. And so all of a sudden there's this tension pulling me apart, where this one thing that I feel should be uniting me more than anything else is the thing that kind of most separates me in some ways. And so what do we do with that? Somewhere along the way, politics became a greater uniting force than a shared Christian faith. And I think if we're honest, the same thing is true of a lot of other things in our country. The church is not very united, either in our country or even globally. Suffice to say, Christian unity is difficult. But it's important enough that at the end of his ministry, this is one of the central things that Jesus chooses to pray to the Father about. And so we're going to talk this morning about the what, the why, and the how of Christian unity. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers, but my hope is to start a conversation with you all. You might disagree with me on some things, that's okay. If you hear some things you don't like or disagree with, or you think that there are some things that need to be added to this conversation, that's great. I ask that you simply remain in conversation with me, with our community, and I will commit to doing the same. Can we commit to that, church? Awesome. And actually, I've deliberately kept my talk a little bit shorter today, hoping to leave some room for conversation with one another at the end. So pay attention, this will be on the quiz. All right, first up, we have this what of Christian unity. What is Christian unity, and what does Jesus mean when he prays for his disciples to be united or to be one? Or if we were to frame the question a little bit differently, what is Christian unity and how does it compare or differ to the unity which is offered to us by the world? Generally speaking, unity describes just this quality of being united or joined together. And we have a lot of things that unite us. One is simply convenience. We recognize that we share a common goal and it will be more efficient to work together. I think of something as simple as carpooling. You have two people going from a similar origin to a similar destination, and so you can hop in the same car. It's convenient to share gas. It reduces traffic and maybe even makes your commute a little bit more exciting because you have someone to talk to. But convenience has its limits. You might be willing to drive a little bit out of your ways to pick someone up, but you're probably not going to go too far. So there's a point at which unity is no longer convenient. It tends to fall apart. That's a pretty simple, low-level form of unity. Another thing that could provide unity is some sort of contract or agreement. There's a service provided in return for payment in the form of money or another service, and that brings people together for a time. Classic example would be like employment. You go to your job and you align yourself with their mission and they pay you, and you're like, great, that works for me. But once that contract is up, the employee typically moves on and maybe doesn't remain super united, so to speak, with their employer unless they developed some sort of friendship that outgrew the confines of the contractual agreement, and then we're into maybe a third and perhaps higher level of unity, which is common ground. For me, this is what I most often think of when I think about unity. I think of sharing something in common with somebody, and that brings us together. You share something in common, whether that's interest, character traits, political views, cultural experience. Share something, and that creates a bond. And this can manifest itself in some really beautiful ways. It can also manifest itself in some really harmful ways, because one of the, I think, easiest but also kind of cheapest, yet somehow also strongest forms of unity develop over a shared hatred. I think that's generally what is going on with a lot of our political climate at the moment. We stand together with people because we are against something or someone. Yet most of these modes of connecting are to some degree optional. You might have a friend that moves away and it's no longer as convenient to keep in touch with them, and so you kind of drift apart. Or you quit your job, and as nice as some of your coworkers were, you don't really feel the need to continue going to happy hour with them. Or interests change and evolve. You no longer just want to spend your weekends playing Pokemon Go with your neighbors, because that was very 2016. Remember that? Everyone walking around catching creatures on their phones? Rob caught some. It's a silly example, but I think that there is something more to unity than common ground. As uniting as that can be, it also has its limitations. What if you share something in common with somebody, and yet there is a difference that is big enough that you struggle to close that gap, like much of our political climate right now? We could say that we, as Christians, are united because, oh, this is the most important thing to you, and it's the most important thing to me. But how's that working for us? I think we need a deeper definition of Christian unity. So let's see what our text has to say about unity. John 17:20, I do not ask for these only, Jesus is praying here for the 12 disciples, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may also be in us, so that the world may believe you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and you in me, that they may become perfectly one. Does anybody else feel kind of dizzy reading this passage? Like it all kind of sounds similar. It's like I and you and me and in them and in the... It gets really confusing. So let's break it down just a little bit more slowly. Jesus is mid-prayer, and up to this point he's been praying for the 12, but then he expands that, says not praying for these 12 only, but also for all those who will believe through their message. That includes you and me. Pretty neat. In his prayer, he says, I ask that they may all be one. And that's our question, isn't it? What does it mean to be one? The key to answering this question is found in the way that Jesus ties the oneness of his church to the oneness that he shares with the Father. He prays that they may all be one, Here it is. Just as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they may also be in us. And again in the next verse, perhaps even more clearly, that they may be one even as we are one, or just as we are one. In essence, the unity of the church is meant to imitate and reflect the unity of the triune God. Yeah, Bennett, that really clears it up. Thanks. Appreciate it. I feel like I'm walking into all the minefields, just like stepping into the political minefield and then turning left into the Trinitarian theology minefield, and I'm curious which one's going to get me into more trouble. But lucky for me, Jesus actually provides some language here. He describes what that relationship looks like. And so in verse 22, we see that Jesus says the Father has given the Son glory. In verse 23, we see the Father has loved the Son. In verse 24, Jesus acknowledges that these disciples he's praying for were in fact given to him by the Father. And so the Father glorifies and loves and gives to the Son, and in response, the Son points the world back to the Father. In verses 25 and 26, Jesus says, O righteous Father, even though the world does not know you, I know you, and these know that you have sent me. I have made known to them your name, and I will continue to make it known, in order that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. So the Father is giving to the Son is giving back to the Father, and this, of course, is only a partial picture of the triune God's relationship. We know from Scripture that the Spirit is involved in this beautiful, complex dance as well. This is where I need to be careful, so I'm going to read directly. Correct me if I'm wrong. The triune God exists eternally as three persons in perfect relationship, characterized by mutual self-giving and submission, and accomplishing one will in perfect unity, such that there are three distinct persons of the Trinity, and yet only one God. This is the model after which Christian unity is to strive. It's unity characterized by mutual self-giving love, which together pursues the perfect will of God. This is the example set before us. And it is a different kind of unity because it is a unity that comes not from convenience or contract or even common ground. It's a unity that comes from a covenantal commitment to one another, even when everything else falls apart, even when everything else would pull us in separate directions. This is what separates Christian unity from the unity offered by the world, is this covenantal commitment to one another in pursuit of God's purpose for the world. It's the type of unity demonstrated in healthy marriages and families, the type of unity we see in those lasting friendships which come along maybe once or twice in your life. They're so rare but so precious. These types of relationships are rarely easy, but they're deeply meaningful, and they teach us something exceedingly important about the character and love of God. And this is what brings us squarely into the why of Christian unity. Why is it important? Our text presents at least two reasons, and I'd like to highlight those. The first I've already alluded to, and I'd point to verse 21 when Jesus prays that his church might be one. Here's the key: in order that they might be in us. In other words, Christian unity is an invitation into the life of God. In the Western Protestant church, we talk a lot about our personal relationship with Jesus, and this is good, important. We talk a lot less about our corporate relationship with God, the relationship between God and his church. But it seems that this relationship between God and his church is actually a critical component of our participation in the life with God. It's not just a personal thing, it's a communal thing as well. And when we read verse 21, as I just did, it actually appears that life together is a prerequisite to life with God. Jesus prays that his church might be one in order that they might be in us. We might be one in order that we might be in God, that we might participate in that life. This probably goes against the grain of our traditional individualistic thinking, but it has beautiful implications because it means that the invitation to Christian unity is nothing less than an invitation into deeper life and love of God. It's an invitation to lean into the beautiful diversity of God's people, to fall ever more in love with God as we learn to love and serve others. Every single person we have ever encountered and will ever encounter is an image bearer who has something to teach us about the kingdom of God. And as we pursue unity with those people, we come to reflect more fully the image of God, both as individuals and as a community. Have you ever wondered what would happen if we actually did this? If we actually lived as one, not just with the people who look like us and act like us and speak like us, but with the entire beautiful mosaic of God's people. I think it would be transformative not only for the church, but for our world as well. And this is the second reason I think our text gives that Christian unity is so important. Jesus prays this a couple times. In verse 21, he prays for unity so that the world may believe that you have sent me. And again in verse 23, so the world may know that you sent me and loved them even as you loved me. I wonder, what if Christian unity is the greatest evangelistic tool we have at our disposal? If we lived in unity, what would the result be, not just for the church, but for our witness to the world? There's a beautiful image in the book of Acts that I think gives us a picture of what this could be. It reads, all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had. With great power, the apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's grace was so powerfully at work in them all that there was no needy persons among them. From time to time, those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales, and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had need. What an amazing but costly picture of what it looks like to be of one heart and mind. And by the way, if any of you wants to sell a home and drop a pile of money at my feet, I probably wouldn't stop you. No promises on where that winds up, though. I wonder what the effect of such a radical unity would be on our world. I think our world would look a lot different, and I think the world would regard the church in a very different way from how it does now. Okay, so we've talked a bit about the what and the why of Christian unity, but what about the how? What is actually required of us in this pursuit of Christian unity? Well, the good news is I've got it all figured out. The first step is to get everybody to think exactly like me, and then once we do that, the rest is easy. Christian unity is achieved. I made that joke to my brother yesterday, and then he goes, yeah, but have you ever gotten angry with yourself? And that had me rethinking some things. But we often approach Christian unity in the same way as we approach the unity offered by the world. We think that it's a matter of agreement about aligning our theology and worldview and mission in order that we achieve some sort of vague cohesion. And we maybe don't think that we need to agree on absolutely everything, but we still treat unity as a game of compromise. Like if we could just get everybody in the same room and hash it out for long enough, like we could come to something that's close enough. Like I'm willing to sign on to anything as long as it's like palatable. But Christian unity is not simply about finding common ground. It's about this covenantal commitment to one another in mutual submission and self-giving love as we pursue God's purpose for the world. And so there are two things that I want to highlight here. The first is that unity is found in God's purposes and not in our own. And this is the piece that actually allows us still to pursue unity even when faced with a sister or brother who disagrees with us on seemingly everything. It means that my ability to pursue unity is not about our disagreement. It is about actually turning to God and God's purposes. This is what allows us to pursue unity without capitulating to harmful ideas. However, this is just as true of us as it is of them. Christian unity is the pursuit of God's purposes, not anyone else's, including yours. We are very good at projecting our own will onto God's and thinking, oh, like my will is definitely more in line with God's will than yours is, so like you need to kind of that's still putting you at the center. So while we can pursue Christian unity even when we have disagreements with others, we cannot pursue Christian unity without first submitting our will to God's will. Christian unity comes at the cost of our own agendas. The second thing I want to highlight is that our ability to pursue God's will is only as strong as our willingness and our ability to love and serve one another. And yes, I'm talking especially about those we find it most difficult to love and serve. These truths together suggest to me that the pursuit of Christian unity is in fact a matter of sanctification, not agreement. The pursuit of Christian unity is a matter of sanctification, or the process by which God makes us holy. God makes us more like Him. It's about turning from our agendas back to God's agendas, and from turning from judgment and condemnation of our neighbor to love and self-sacrifice. Christian unity, I think, is all about submitting to the sanctifying work of God in our lives in order that the church would become of one heart, of one mind, living in covenantal relationship with one another as we pursue God's purposes for our lives and for our world. And when and if we submit to this work, I think that we'll find that we are drawn into a far deeper love for and far deeper life with God. So as I promised at the beginning of my sermon, I want to carve out some space for you all to discuss this topic for a bit, because I've stood up here telling you what I think about Christian unity, and I've joked about me needing to tell you and just convince you that I'm right. And I think it would be probably good if we all entered into this conversation a little bit. So if you would, in just a moment here, turn to a neighbor if you're feeling brave, maybe someone you haven't met before, and start a conversation. What's this bringing up in you? What's true? What's difficult? I've got a couple questions to project on the screen to guide your conversation, if you would like, but don't feel bound to those. And after several minutes, we'll have the band back up. They'll play a song, and then I'll be back up for the benediction. Off you go.